It's Wednesday. You know what that means. Time for the Southern California Writers Association Hump Day Book Tour. I'm your host, Maddie Margarita, here with Diana Pardee on Tech. Every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m., the Southern California Writers Association invites a new writer to talk about their books and their work. This morning, the Hump Day Book Tour proudly welcomes Lisa Black. Lisa's books have reached the New York Times bestseller list, been translated into 6 languages, and have been optioned for film. Parrish was shortlisted for the inaugural Sue Grafton Memorial Award by Putnam and Mystery Writers of America. She works as a latent print examiner for the City of Cape Coral, Florida Police Department, mostly working with fingerprints and crime scenes. She has lectured at writers' conventions and appeared on panels. She is a member of Sisters in Crime, Mystery Writers of America, and International Thriller Writers. A forensic specialist. You are a busy person, Lisa. She is a member of the American Academy of Forensic Scientists, the International Association for Identification, the International Association of Bloodstain Pattern Analysts, and is a certified crime scene analyst. She has had over 1,000 hours of instruction in forensic topics and has testified in court over 65 times. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting.
Yeah, well, we're so excited to have you here, and you've had a long career. Your books have reached New York Times bestselling status. Talk a little bit, if you would, about how you started writing and where your writing career is today, what you're writing today.
Okay, well, I started writing as a kid. In like grade school, I always wrote letters. I'm like a chronic letter writer. And I would write letters to my favorite cousin, and I'd put in little, like, basically comic strip stories, putting us in our favorite TV shows, which at the time was Batman and Star Trek. And the original of all the old 70s ones of all those shows. And so the stories just got longer and longer and longer. And so after college, I graduated with a degree in political science with no marketable skills whatsoever except typing, and became a personnel secretary for 10 years. And so then I was sitting in front of a word processor all day. So I thought, well, what the heck, I'll write a novel. How hard can it be? And since I always, all I wanted to read was mysteries, I started writing mysteries. I wrote 6, all of which are in my attic and should remain there. Then after 10 years of that, I decided this isn't going. So I went back to school, got a degree in biology, specifically to go into forensics. So then I worked at the coroner's office in Cleveland, Ohio, which I absolutely loved. It was exhausting, and it was stressful, and it was just fascinating. And then my husband dragged me 1,400 miles away to Florida. So suddenly I had no job, no friends, no family. And I think I started writing again just to stay sane. And since I always only wanted to write mysteries, it just made sense to apply now the forensic background to telling the mystery story. And at the same time, CSI had premiered. Everyone was looking for the next Patricia Cornwell, and I got published. So, so that brings me to where I am. I still have the day job. I still work full time for the police department, plus overtime. And I have 15 forensic suspense novels out now.
Wow. Well, and I thought the funniest quote I saw when I was looking, when I was doing research for our talk today, was that the happiest 5 years of your life were spent in a morgue.
Yes.
And so I guess that's what you were referring to.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, which tells us a lot about you, Lisa. Yeah.
Not necessarily anything good, maybe.
well, it's, people are, what you do is fascinating, and it has dark sides, and, it's related to really difficult times and events. And so how, and you were writing before you became a forensic specialist. Mm-hmm. So yes. How has that changed? How did that change your writing or your approach to writing?
It didn't really change the approach. But as I said, now I had the background, and I could use all the forensic information and just approach the mystery from that way. And it actually made it easy, because this was her job to, investigate murders. So I could start out every book with her standing over a dead body at a crime scene. And that was not hard to explain. This was another day on the job, which actually made it amazingly easy to work her into crime scenes, which I'm finding now as I'm trying to start a new series. And I realize that I had no idea how good I had it with her being a forensic specialist, how much easier that made things. And just then it gave me a way to work through the crime, because I could just work through it the way I would work through a crime scene.
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about Maggie Gardner and Jack Renner, who are in Every Kind of Wicked, right? That's your most recent novel with them in there, in the series? Okay.
Yeah, Every Kind of Wicked is the 6th book in the Jack and Maggie series. And Jack is a homicide detective with a sideline of basically killing people who are like the worst of the city's criminals, the ones that never get convicted because they never leave enough evidence to get into a courtroom in the first place. And he's not, he doesn't enjoy killing. He makes it as easy and painless as he possibly can. And he knows he doesn't hate these criminals. He knows they're just a product of their environment. So he sits them down and gives them their, favorite food and drinks and talks to them and, lets them tell their story. And then when they're about as relaxed and happy as it is for them to get in this world, he puts 3 bullets in the back of their head. So that they're dead before he knows it. Because this to him is the humane and responsible thing to do. And this was all going quite well, this little project of his, until he encountered Maggie Gardner, who picked up his trail in the first book, That Darkness. And by the end of the book, for various reasons, she can't reveal who he is without exposing herself to possible prosecution. So they wind up with this uneasy sort of partnership, but they actually work very well together. And so they're really kind of settled in a little bit of a routine, even though he keeps feeling he doesn't feel guilty about what he's doing, but he feels guilty about basically like kind of ruining her life in a way, because he can see she's getting very isolated because she can't tell anybody what's going on. And she's actually bonding with him, which, he realizes is probably not the psychologically best thing in the world, but they have this bond forged in fire, and neither one of them can turn their back on it. And in Every Kind of Wicked, I took on a set of villains that is like my passion in the world is phone scammers and other kind of scammers, but I focused on phone scammers. All those calls you get about we can lower your credit card interest rates, and I have been like in a battle with them for years. And I still I'll get 6 of those phone calls a day because I answer them. It's my own fault. Everyone else is smart enough to answer, but I kept answering because I wanted to talk to these people and see if I could get them to talk to me and tell them.
The writer's curse.
Yeah. It's like, why do you do this? Does this not bother you or what? Well, they forget it. They won't talk to you. They will not. They either hang up instantly or they insist that they're not scammers. They're really not. Why would you say that? So they won't ever really give you any useful information, but that's what I started with in Every Kind of Wicked. And I really enjoyed where that plot went.
Well, I think that the conflict that you have there with Jack is such an interesting topic, because it brings up the question, what is really justice? And I think that's the internal conflict with me, like as a reader. When you find yourself rooting for somebody that is doing something that you're not sure is really right, that you're morally conflicted about yourself, I think that makes the stories that much more interesting. And then when you bring in phone scammers, well,
Yes.
then of course that justifies everything that anybody does to them in the future. Yes. So well, you mentioned that this is the 6th book. What are you going to write another Maggie and Jack book? Or I know you mentioned also that you were maybe thinking about starting a different series.
Right. I'm working on a new series now that it's a little more of it. There's no Jack in it, unfortunately. I will miss Jack. I've never bonded with a character like I bonded with Jack. Like a lot of people who read the series, say to me, well, are you Maggie? Is Maggie you? And I'm like, no, I'm not Maggie. I'm Jack.
Okay, so that again, that tells us a lot about you, Lisa, but go on.
Yeah. I don't know why. I just bonded with him. And so with this new series, I'm trying more like kind of a team approach. The character is a forensic scientist, but she's going to wind up working for this, what I call the Locard Institute, which is this premier forensics institute. It does training for law enforcement, it does research, and it takes private cases. So I was trying to kind of break out of that mold that I was in, that forensics mold, and have her able to travel. I mean, my goal is to have like every book set in a different place, a different big city, or like I'm planning one in like the Nevada desert, and just have different locations and be able to bring in, more aspects of it than simply, a murder in a big city.
Well, you live in the premier setting of all mayhem and murder in Florida, thanks to Carl Hyson and Dave Barry and Tim Dorsey and all those other guys. What do you think about setting a book in Florida?
Oh, there's, like you've mentioned, there's a ton of stories set in Florida. There's a lot of series set in Florida. I'm sure she'll come to Florida at some point.
All right.
I plan to set one in like Naples, which is a very ritzy city, a little south of me, about an hour and a half south, and there is crazy money in Naples. So I think that'll be fun. And the environment is so different. I'm coming from Cleveland to Florida. The environment is so different. I mean, the dirt is all sand instead of clay. You have massive humidity, and it's, you've got crazy growth. It's like only certain things grow here, but when they do, they just grow out of proportion. Of course, different animals. You've got alligators and things like that. I've seen alligators off my dock behind my house. So a lot of mosquitoes, that kind of thing. So it's different being in Florida, but I'll probably have her come to Florida at one point. And Florida is famous for crazy murders, but my little town, Cape Coral, it's like one big, huge bedroom community. So we have very low crime. I went from Cleveland that had at the time about 120 homicides a year to Cape Coral, which has 4, and they're usually open and shut. Although unfortunately that is, when I first came here 21 years ago, the person would be standing there with a knife saying, I did it, when we showed up. Now it's not quite that way. We've actually have whodunits. My motto is we don't have whodunits in the Cape, but we're starting to have whodunits. So it's changing a little bit.
It probably has something to do. It was probably like Jessica Fletcher moved into Cabot Cove. So you don't know what's going to happen there. So when you're writing a book, do you think about the reader's reaction? That's the first part of that question. And then the second part is, how do you want them to feel when they finish reading one of your books? How do you want a reader to feel when they finish one of your books?
Well, I do think about the reader's reaction. I try to avoid anything that's going to offend anybody. Obviously, I avoid, because there's a lot of things I think about writing and then think this would probably offend somebody. It's like just little attitudes about childcare, religion, obviously, I don't touch politics, things like that. So I do think about readers' reactions. And I was surprised that people took to Jack as much, because what he's doing is wrong. There is absolutely. I was at a book club meeting, and this like everyone loved the book, and this one woman says, I love the book, but he's wrong. I can't get on board with what he's doing. And I said, you're absolutely right. He is wrong. And he shouldn't be, we don't want people doing that. But I had to write it that way. It just had to be. And so what I want people, how I want someone to feel like after they read my book is like, wow, that was really, I did not see that coming. That's what the reaction I would like them to have at the end of the book. And I've always said that the nicest thing readers say to me is, I totally forgot about my troubles when I was reading your book. It totally took my mind off everything else I was thinking of. And I'm like, that's the best compliment I could get.
That's great. Okay. So, and where can people find your books, Lisa?
Anywhere books are sold, your local independent bookstore, Barnes and Noble, Amazon, Books A Million, anything. The library.
Okay,
Will have.
good.
And they are also available as ebooks and audiobooks.
And you do have a special event coming up, right? In Killer Nashville? Is that?
Yeah, I have a few. I'm going to be one of the 3 guests of honor at Killer Nashville in August, which I'm really looking forward to. I was never never in Nashville, so I'm really excited about going to Nashville. This was supposed to be last August, and they just transported the whole thing to this August, which I really appreciated. I did, I wasn't sure if they would want different people. I'm doing a convention, artists and illustrators convention in Sydney, Australia, unfortunately via Zoom. They are not flying to me to Australia.
Oh.
I would have enjoyed that. So that's in July. I am a member of Rogue Women Writers, which is a group of 6 kick-ass female thriller writers.
I read who is in that group with you, Lisa?
Gail Linz, Chris Goff, Kim Howe, who writes as KJ Howe, Jenny Milchman, Carla Neggers. I feel like I'm missing someone, but I don't think so. And me. Yeah. And every month, Chris had the brilliant idea to start up an event, an online author reading event called Rogue Reads. So every month, usually in the middle of the month on a Monday, we'll have 4 authors on who have current releases usually that month, and they'll talk about their book. They'll talk about, themselves, they'll do a little reading. They'll read for 2 or 3 minutes from the book. They'll tell us like what their favorite snacks and drinks are. And when I'm emceeing, I like to, whoever's emceeing usually like has the drinks there, so that we can have fun while we're doing this. And it's a lot of fun. It's a great event. It's on Zoom and Facebook Live, just like this is, and our YouTube channel. So we've had wonderful response. This month we had Jeffrey Deaver. Last week, I think on the 15th, we had Jeffrey Deaver. Next month we have Tracy Clark and Kisa Afia. And in August, we're going to have an amazing lineup. We're going to have like Kathy Reichs, Tess Gerritsen, Laura Lippman, and I'm missing the most obvious. Anyway, the most obvious
star power there, Lisa.
I know. That's going to be just astounding. So, and we have a website, we have a blog. Every week someone will blog. So, and also in Rogue Reads, viewers can type in questions and ask questions, or be in the Zoom room with us and ask their questions and talk to the authors.
Great. All right. Well, I hope that we had talked a little bit beforehand. I hope you have a minute or 2 to maybe check in and answer questions, and maybe see some of the comments that everybody who's watching has for this. And about your career and about the amazing things that you do. I have a question. So how do you, one final question, how do you, with all the different things that you do, how do you manage your time? How do you manage to get your writing time in?
Lately it's not easy, but I'm on a rotating schedule. So we're on 12-hour shifts. And so I'm on 2 days, off 2 days, on 3 days. I work every other weekend, which is great because it's nice and quiet at work, and I can get stuff done. So I have whole days at home where, I don't have children. My husband's there, but I just shut the door and keep my office quiet. And so I have long blocks of time that I can get stuff done then.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess you're an inspiration to all of us who find excuses and make excuses not to write. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being here. Good luck with your next series. Good luck at Killer Nashville. Are you going to BoucherCon? Are you going to go to BoucherCon this year?
I wanted to, but I don't think I'm going to be, it's the very next weekend after
Right,
Killer.
right.
So I was planning to, but I don't think I'm going to be able to swing it with, I do still have that pesky day job thing, and they want me to show up once in a while. So
Yeah, well, not everybody appreciates your celebrity as much as we do. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for being here, Lisa. And I hope everybody enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. For more videos like this, you can go to our Facebook page, to the Southern California Writers Association Facebook page, or go to YouTube, our YouTube channel, which is SCWA Writers Online. So please, until next time, stay safe, and we will see you soon.